There is something extraordinary on the map of this country. Please take a closer look at the map. This place, located within the borders of Kazakhstan and marked by a small circle, is a settlement called Baikonur. However, this is not a special place belonging to Kazakhstan, and its ownership is with Kazakhstan. So why is it depicted as if it's part of another country on the maps? Because these lands are still being used by the Russians due to a leasing agreement made in the past. This city, established by the Soviet Union, is the oldest spaceport in the world. On the other hand, it is said that the laws of Russia and the Russian currency are valid at this spaceport, which has the status of a federal city. Visit city in Turkestan. Foreigners can watch launches. This city will be at the top of my list when I plan to visit Turkestan soon. Because in addition to Russian citizens, foreigners also have the chance to visit the city and watch rocket launches. Additionally, Russia pays Kazakhstan nearly $150 million each year for the management rights of the city. So, this situation legally makes Baikonur belong to Kazakhstan, while in practice, it allows Russia to use it for space research and military projects. So how does this happen? Why is there still a Russian city in Kazakhstan? Let's take a closer look at the situation. In the meantime, you can like the video and support me. In the early 1950s, during the intense period of the Cold War, the Soviet Union embarked on a large-scale project to achieve superiority in space. To compete with the Americans in space research, a strategic location was needed. The Baikonur region in Kazakhstan was ideal due to its low population, vast terrain, and proximity to water sources like the Sir-Darya River. Thus, the Soviets began investing in 1955, using Baikonur for military research and development. This is why the Soviets started investing in the region from 1955 onwards. Thus, Baikonur began to be used for military research and development projects. As the Soviet Union's interest in space grew, Baikonur emerged as a leading hub for space research. In fact, I can say that the world's first artificial satellite, Sputnik 1, was launched from here in 1957, and the first human spaceflight, Vostok 1, took place in 1961. So many flights reflecting Soviet power took place in Baikonur. Yuri Gagarin became the first human to travel to space aboard the Vostok 1 spacecraft launched from Baikonur, and this event marked a significant moment in Baikonur's history. On the other hand, 14 cosmonauts from 13 countries, including Czechoslovakia, East Germany, India, and France, began their journeys from here as part of the Intercosmos program. After these events that became significant for the world, Baikonur's fame skyrocketed. Thus, the city became a strategic center for space research for the Soviet Union and, today, Russia. However, after the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, Baikonur remained within the territory of Kazakhstan, thus technically, becoming a base belonging to Kazakhstan. At that time, Russia wanted to keep this base because it was of strategic importance. In fact, the Russians even changed the name of the region to maintain secrecy. Although Baikonur was referred to as Tura Atom during the Soviet administration, it was officially named Baikonur by Russian President Boris Yeltsin on December 20, 1995. This was very important for the Russians, and they didn't want to let it go. That's why, even after Kazakhstan gained its independence, they made a lease agreement with the Kazakh government to continue using the Baikonur base. According to the agreement made in 1994, Russia wanted to lease the base for 100 years. However, the Kazakhs did not accept this, and the Russians agreed to pay an annual rent to Kazakhstan to use the Baikonur spaceport. In fact, this agreement had recently ended. However, with a new agreement made in 2004, it was agreed that Baikonur would be leased to the Russians until 2050, allowing Russia to continue its activities there. Thus, the Baikonur spaceport in Kazakhstan remained a space used by Russia, even though it did not legally belong to Russia. Baikonur is a key spaceport for Russian missions, the ISS transport. Its role increases Russia's economic reliance on Kazakhstan. It plays an important role in Russia's missions to send humans into space and transport astronauts to the International Space Station. On the other hand, Baikonur's significant position in this field actually increases Russia's economic dependence on Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan, thanks to the rental income from this base, is not only contributing to its economy, but also gaining a voice in space research on the international stage. For this reason, the city has become a matter of prestige not only for Russia, but also for Kazakhstan. Kazakh officials are using Baikonur to increase young people's interest in space sciences and to create a unique infrastructure in space technologies. Therefore, we can consider this city as an important link between the two countries. In my opinion, this extraordinary city is an interesting example of cooperation and dependency in the relations between Kazakhstan and Russia. As the political and economic conditions between the two countries change in the future, the status of Baikonur will also come back into discussion. In the coming years, Kazakhstan may want to take on a more independent role in space research. However, it needs to develop its infrastructure and scientific capacity for that. On the other hand, I think the Russians also don't want to remain overly dependent on Baikonur, which is renowned as the world's largest spaceport. That's why they are building a new spaceport in their own territory, in the Amur Oblast. You know, they say who will live and who will die until 2050. But still, I'm really curious about what will happen to this land once the lease agreement ends. Let's see which country these lands will belong to in the coming years. Of course, we will wait and see. But at this point, I want to focus a bit more on the city and talk about it. Baikonur is a small place surrounded by vast steppes on the banks of the Sirdarya River in southern Kazakhstan. You can think of this place as a city that was completely established for space activities and the support of those activities, unlike other cities in the world. For this reason, life in the city is largely shaped around the Baikonur spaceport. Despite this, the population of this city, where Russian and Kazakh citizens live together, is around 35,000 people. On the other hand, the majority of the population consists of engineers, technicians, and their families working in space. However, since these individuals usually come for short-term assignments, we can say that the social life in the city is in constant flux. The city, part of Kazakhstan, has a dominant Russian culture. Public signs are in Russian widely spoken. Social life is limited compared to other Kazakh cities. While public buildings, street signs and signs in the city are written in Russian, Russian is also widely used in daily life. According to the information I've read, especially on foreign forums, social life here is quite limited compared to other Kazakh cities. The city has a few social spaces like shopping centers, restaurants, and cafes where basic needs can be met. There are also a few small cinemas and theater spaces for hospitals, schools, and cultural events. Of course, this information is just what I've gathered from internet research. But I think my Kazakh brothers who are watching me and have visited Baikonur will leave comments under this video. Is poetry really like this? I'm looking forward to your knowledge and thoughts on this topic. On the other hand, the city's architecture is characterized by typical concrete structures and wide streets from the Soviet era. In my opinion, military and strategic infrastructure has been taken into account in the city planning. There are also a few statues and monuments in the city that honor space activities, such as the Gagarin Monument. As I mentioned before, Baikonur will continue to serve the Russians as a piece of land under Russian control until 2050. Although the Russians have built new spaceports within their own territory, Baikonur still maintains its significance due to its geographical honor and existing infrastructure. Kazakhstan is making efforts to turn Baikonur into a center that plays a more active role in international space research in the future. Therefore, both countries place a special importance on this city and take great care of it. Therefore, this indicates that the city could show more development in the fields of science and technology in the long term. So what do you think about Russians still owning land within the borders of Kazakhstan? Do you think Kazakhstan should reclaim this land? Share your thoughts with us in the comments. If you want to support me on the way to 100,000, you can subscribe to the channel and like the video. These small contributions are very valuable for helping the videos reach more people. Thank you for listening to me up to this point. See you in the next video. Take care of yourselves, stay healthy, and in peace.